today on the BBL platform?
That's another thing for them to understand. If you start out doing what you love and what you're passionate about, the money will come. Because there's times that I've been very shocked by a lot of my salaries, and I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't even asking for that, but I'll take it.
Right.
Thank you. So, thank you.
Welcome to the Black Boss Ladies platform, a place where women can gain inspiration for their journey to success through the powerful experiences of successful Black businesswomen, past and present. These women are redefining leveling up by creating legacies in their own time. Are you ready to do the same? Join the discussion on the BBL platform, the place where legacies live.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Tiffany Lee, and this is my co-host, Julia Myers.
And today we have Nicole Prom here. Thank you so much for joining us on the BBL platform.
Thank you.
We're so excited to hear your background. I was reading over your resume right before, and I know you for being in healthcare. And I was like, oh my gosh, she actually was in HR before. That's like a huge difference.
Yes.
So kind of give us a little bit of background, a little bit of information about your background.
Yeah, so I did start off my education. My bachelor's is in human resources.
Okay.
So I started in human resources and worked my way up. And then from that point, I've always had a desire to go into healthcare. But I thought that it would have been in HR, healthcare, human resources. But I had the opportunity to get into administration. Okay. So that's how that all started.
Every time I think about your background, I was telling my husband, I was like, I always think about what's the movie? John Q. And the lady is sitting at the thing is like, you gotta find the money. Like that's every time I think of that's what I like. Oh, healthcare administration. Okay.
Yes.
So what does that entail?
So it entails. So I started in healthcare administration. My current position is executive director. So my responsibility is for pretty much operating a senior living community. Okay. I make sure that we're going towards the vision. I make sure that we're operationally sound, financially sound. So I am the person that is running it solely, running the community. Oh, wow. So yes.
So when you first started there, what was your position?
So I started somewhere else as an administrator. Okay. So let me back up, assistant administrator. Okay. So I was in my HR world, minding my business, thinking I was going to retire in HR, just be VP of HR.
Right.
And my administrator at the time saw something in me and said that he thought that I would be a great administrator one day. So I was torn because I'm like, I love HR. This is what I went to school for. This is what I dreamed to do. Right. And now here it is, I'm being told that there's a different path that I can take.
Somebody planted a seed.
Somebody planted
a seed.
And then my husband, Tony, made a comment when I was I prayed about it, just praying about it, trying to see which way I should go. He said, no one can take your HR degree or experience from you. This is a change. Why don't you, pursue it? So I thought about it like, you're right. I can actually probably use what I've learned in the HR field and use it in healthcare. And I will tell you, it has been a huge advantage compared to other people who had a different field of study. Because at the end of the day, HR is dealing with people. Okay. So, and that's all I do all day. I deal with people. So to be able to relate to them, that was prone in human, that cloned me in the skills in HR. So I was going about my business, and my administrator saw something in me. So there was an administrator in training program, which for the state of Indiana where I was at the time, they require you to go through that, which I like because you get to rotate departments, to get to learn all aspects of the business.
Right.
And then you go into what's called assistant administrator. Okay. And then what you have to take the exam and pass the exam to even be deemed an assistant administrator. You can't put it in your title. You can't put it on your business cards until you pass that exam.
So this is not an easy, and I want to go back to that because you love HR. You're sitting there. You're like, I'm going to retire in this space. Somebody come plant a little seed, and now how long did it take you to actually say, hey, yeah, I'm going to do this? Because it's not like you're walking right into something.
Absolutely.
You're literally taking on another career path in a sense.
Yeah, so I'm going to back up a little bit more because he planted the seed, but it was ironic, and I know that was nothing but God putting it in me one day I just was like, I wish I can interact with the families more. I wish I can interact with the residents more, which is the elderly. And when the one gentleman that at the time was in the position that I eventually ended up in, I was like, what if I did something like that? I had it in there, didn't even think about it.
So there was,
it was like, what if I was
subconsciously,
doing that?
yeah.
And then he called me out of the blue and was just like, I want to talk to you about something. I want to do things differently with this person. I want the right person. I want you to think about it. So he gave me a week. I asked for a week. He gave me a week.
That's not a long time to change your whole life.
Right, exactly.
It's not. So I'm calling people that I know that might have went into public health administration. I'm talking to them. I'm praying during that time. I'm like, please show me, help guide me where I need to be. I'm talking to my family, and it was like a click when my husband Tony said, you can't lose that. This is different. This is a whole different career. I went from a different industry. I started out in manufacturing, then switched over to healthcare.
Yep.
So I've done that before.
Yep.
So I was like, let me try it. So I did, and there's been no looking back. And
is there a reason why you moved from manufacturing to healthcare?
For healthcare, I see, this is who I am personally, desire to serve. Serving is fulfilling to me. I served in manufacturing. I found a way to serve in manufacturing, but I really didn't feel like I was serving. So in healthcare, because in healthcare, there's always somebody in need, I feel like that would have been fulfilling to me. And for me, it wasn't about titles, it wasn't about the pay, it was about fulfillment. Because I feel like if I would have been fulfilled and had a purpose, all of that would come with it, which has. So, but to wake up, I've always said when I started my journey, wherever I was always said, I want to look forward to going to work. I want to look forward to, which is rare that people can say.
Right.
That you love what you do, you look forward to it.
And the more we interview bosses, I'm starting to hear a pattern. I don't know if you're seeing, like a lot of it's like, it's not about the money. It's about how I feel when I go to work. The money comes, and all the interviews, people are doing pretty well, but I'm constantly hearing that pattern over and over again. Like, I want to feel good when I go to work.
Absolutely.
We spend a lot of time at work.
We do. And that's the key. We do. And I tell my staff, I'm like, I look at it as we're the dysfunctional family, like any other family. We're going to get mad at each other. We're going to be, but at the end of the day, we spend a lot of time. We need to enjoy each other's company. We need to, be together as one. And I feel the same way. Being in this position, I am very intentional, making sure I have the right mindset, making sure I start the day off right, because they can start off the right day. So if they start off right, then it's a trickle down effect to their team, and then it's a trickle down effect to the people that we serve, which is the elderly. So for me, that was what it was about.
Let me ask you this, if you don't mind.
No.
Can you share with us, how do you start your day off with intention?
So I start my day off with prayer and meditation. So I start with really, getting into my devotion, making sure my mind is clear, making sure I am, going in with the right attitude. If I'm dealing with something, making sure I deal with it before I enter into that building, because the energy and the tone that I start off with, it does affect the community. So if I've done the opposite, you can see it. You can see, people's at a frenzy. It's a hot mess, because
that's a level of awareness for a leader, because all leaders don't move with that much intention. So if you even you're aware that the energy I walk into my organization with is what's going to come back to me.
Absolutely.
And I think if more leaders took that serious, understanding how much power they had over their organization, things will look totally different in places.
I've seen it. I had the chance to experience. So the administrator that approached me about being in a position, he became like a mentor to me. There was a lot of qualities that I did not like, but I took the good qualities. And one thing that I noticed, he was a little hot-headed. But I saw how it affected the whole team. And it really shifted. People started out the day wrong, because we used to have our morning stand-up, and he would just be going in. It didn't matter what it was about. He was very militant. He was from, he served in the military, so he had that type of mindset. And I was like, I don't want that. You know, I want to do differently. He tried to mold me to be that way. He was like, you got to be tougher, because you HR, you all like, oh, cool. You know, we were
different ways to be tough, right?
Yeah,
there is. Yeah.
But I had to adjust, but I didn't want to be, there was just some qualities I was like, I'm not going to be that type of leader when I get into that position. And we kind of balanced each other out because I would be able to, I was the only one that had that relationship with him when I could be like, kick him under the table,
like
get it together. And literally I would be kicking, no joke, kicking him under the table just for him to will it in.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, and that's also the type of leader I am, that I can be also held accountable. I want my team to be able to, I have my circle, which is another thing he taught me, have that circle. Those circle of people that could tell me like, okay, that wasn't clear, or you were not yourself, is everything okay? So that I can, step back if I need to.
People that you trust.
Absolutely, trust.
The counsel of your counsel. All leaders should have people around that can see their blind spots.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a little bit about that too. When he said you were fluffy, and then he was more militant, right? And so then you guys balanced each other out.
Yes, we did.
So what happened when you went on your own? Did you have to transition?
When I went on my own, I again worked on some things that I needed to be more firm on, because I knew if I did go in with the style I had in HR, that they would just not take me serious. But I had a way of doing it, because it's all in, I'm a believer it's all an approach. So I'm very much a person that coach opposed to discipline. If it gets to the point of discipline, then that's on you. And that is something that I learned. I was just telling somebody that the other day, from my humble beginnings at Menards. I had very good leadership there. One of them was the general manager. I still talk to this day. And I learned a lot from him. I had another one that wasn't so quite, but he taught me a few things. And one of them was, in HR, you deal with a lot of firing and discipline. And he said, Nicole, if you can, at the end of the day, when you fire someone, they shake your hand and they still leave whole and with their dignity, you've done your job. And so you're, dealing with somebody's livelihood, you're taking that away from them. But at the end of the day, I was able to let them still leave whole. And not only that, 9 out of 10, they fire themselves. Because they really knew what that was. So it was just all in my approach of meeting the person where they're at. Because a lot of times people, that's where the HR comes in, is a lack of training, and which I just dealt with recently. You expecting somebody to be able to do something, but they may not be capable of doing it. Maybe they're not in the right position. Maybe they don't have the competencies for it. So So I really had to, look into that, and that helped me to be able to deal with some of those difficult conversations or difficult things that you have to do in that area.
Yeah, because you're getting people from all levels of education. Like, I work in training, so I honestly feel I could pretty much train people to do anything if they have the capability to do it.
That's the difference.
And you just never know where they are when they enter to your training program. Like, do they know what a complete sentence is? Do they know how to make it? Like, it's just so many things that comes with training.
And it's an eye-awakener, because you think there are so many people in the positions that they're in, you don't know how they got to those positions. There's some of them that shouldn't be in that position, don't have the skills, and you're learning that. There's some of them that have it, but then maybe there's just the management or something lacking that you just need to, coach them and guide them on. So I try to be a leader that inspire and can help. And then and make them understand if it's just not something they need to do, let me find a position that they can be good at. And a lot of times I've transferred folks into different positions, and they exceeded in those positions. It was very fulfilled and happy, and we're just in the wrong position.
And that's another thing. Like, that's another level of leadership too. Being able to say, oh, this person isn't a horrible worker, they're just not matched for this job. Right?
And that is really,
because other people just want to throw you out the window. Like, you gotta go.
Because I would.
And I have several others that would too. And in fact,
That's another level of patience.
Right.
I'm going to find, because in my mind, I hired you to do this.
Exactly.
Right.
And the thing
It's not even just patience. It is really just a tale of a great leader.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm learning from this
Yeah.
because I was thinking, boy, they would be fired. So that is, I mean, that's great.
You gotta look at it from
you're
a different
able to
lens.
do
You
that.
really do.
Yeah.
You have to look at it, especially if you come into. There's been times I've walked into it, and this is just who I got. This is the team I got.
Right.
I've come into other times where they say you got 30 days to decide if you want to keep the team. So I've learned through that, like, okay, the team that I had to deal with, it was like, this is who I got.
Yeah.
So let me see how I can do it where they
Make
can
some magic.
benefit the team, but also, you know, like I said, all about fulfilling them as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do.
And that's where good leadership literally comes from. You've heard, I've seen quotes like, you know, a great leader can turn a bad team good, but a horrible leader can turn a good team bad. Like, it literally starts with the head.
Absolutely. And what I've told my leaders that I deal with now is, I've had some of them that want to give up on their team, and I tell them, or they may have somebody that just needs some guidance and coaching, they're not doing anything about it. So I said, they're a reflection of you. And they didn't, I had one of them that liked me. Like that. She was like,
ain't me.
I said, just like she's a reflection of you, you all are a reflection of me, this community is a reflection of me. When you start thinking about it like that, you will invest more into helping this individual. Because you don't want them out there in the community or the world representing you that way.
Right.
So they're a reflection of you. So how are you going to handle that one? You should see the
Change
response
everything,
like
because that whole mindset and shift about it. So you're sitting there, you pray about it, you're like, okay, I'm about to leave this space, I'm about to take this journey to this new world that I have no idea what I'm getting to. What's the internal? What's happening with this internal struggle?
So internal,
is
for
there
me,
one?
There was.
Okay.
I had a lot of fear.
Yes.
I really did, because I had it in my head that I needed to have all of this experience. So I went from administrator to executive director in a very short time. Is unknown in the industry that I'm in. I did it in a matter of 2 years.
Congratulations.
So, and that is unheard of. Yes, a big leap. So I kept saying, I just need this, you know, all this experience. I need more experience to be at the executive director level. I had two young ladies that is part of my circle that actually have went to me to 2 different locations, have traveled with me, and they just kept saying, Nicole, no, you don't. You're doing it. You're doing it. And I'm like, no, I need it. And so God had a different plan. Said, okay, I'm gonna show you. So the executive director position where I was at, previous to where I'm at now, came available, where that leader was no longer there. So I ended up being interim executive director for 2 years.
Wow.
So he was like, I'm gonna show you.
You think I'm baptized you by fire? Boom.
And he did. And I learned a lot more by doing it that way. So he was like, okay, you don't want to take that leap. You have no choice now, because you're gonna do it for 2 years.
You know, sometimes I think too, as Black women, we think we need all that, and people are sitting at the table with less than what we already have, right?
Yeah.
Like, but we just think at a level of excellence, right? And sometimes God got to just kick you into that position, like, no, you have more than enough.
Because
people
we've been trained and
that.
taught and raised that we have to be 3 times more than our peers. And that's what it was for me. At the point I wasn't 3, I may have been 2. But you know, I was like, I have to, because I have to be better. And I was, and then realized I was operating that way already. But for that one community where I was doing interim, it really showed me. I transformed that team. We made a lot of, you know, accomplishments. So he just kept showing me like, okay, I'm gonna prove you wrong. You keep depending on me and coming to me, I'm going to give you the tools, I'm going to give you the resources, I'm going to give you what you need to do the job. And he did. So, and then I had my cheerleaders in the back that was pumping me up, and I was able to accomplish it. So my boss at the time where I was at in interim, there was a shift in the position, should I say shift in the organization, where it was going in a direction I didn't like. It wasn't aligning with my values. So she recruited me into the executive director position I'm in now, which was a way larger community. And a lot more responsibility.
Tell us a little bit about this facility.
Yeah, so my current community I'm at now, it is we got 325.
I saw that on your resume.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, people like seniors, right?
Yes.
That's a really big community.
The elderly, yes. So we have homes, we have apartments, we have a rehab center, we have a senior nursing home.
Okay.
And then we have memory care. So again, that fear was almost kind of creeping. Like, wait a minute, this is a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then, to add a little more, the position had been vacant for 12 months.
Oh.
Where they had not filled the position. They couldn't find anybody they, wanted. And so I had got confirmation. God was like, because we waiting on you.
Yeah, that's what it was yours.
I had to go through all of that.
Yeah.
It was waiting on me.
And bring out those skills that he already knew was inside of you.
So
right?
yes.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a journey getting there. I'm happy. It is a great community, a lot of work, and it's so eerie how identical some of the issues are from where I came.
Oh, wow.
Which made me know in confirmation I had to go through that to get there.
Yeah. All I keep hearing is like God doesn't qualify to call what is it? Qualify to call, but he doesn't call the qualified, but he qualifies to call. Yeah, I had to get that out. Okay. It was in me. That's all I hear. So you went through those 2 years because you were literally transforming into the person. So this position was sitting here waiting for you.
Yes.
Yes. With it being empty though for so long, was it really a lot to step into? Because if you don't have a leader,
it was a lot.
A year.
I'm dealing with some things. I'm dealing with helping the team understand you function for 12 months without someone in this role, but now you have a leader here.
Yeah.
So trying to help them understand that. They truly did need someone in that position because there was a lot of not so much food moving forward. They wasn't elevating.
There was just a survival mode.
Exactly. There was in survival mode, maintaining. It's a great community. Out of all of the communities that the Franciscan Ministries own, we are considered like the flagship.
Oh, nice.
So the fact that I am part of a community that's the flagship, there's a lot of work that can be done. But they have a good team, and it's just some things that I need to work out building the team. Just some things that are similar to where I came from.
How long you been there?
I've been there almost 3 months now.
Oh, this is the new one.
This is the new one.
This is the new one. Oh, wow.
3 months, I think, Tuesday. 3 months exactly. 3 months.
Yeah.
It feel like almost 3 years already. So much
just trying to
do.
Yeah.
So what is your title there?
Executive director. Right?
Executive director. So if I'm sitting at home and I'm like, oh, I want to be that person, what advice would you give someone that wants to kind of go in that space?
I would definitely tell them to start with the foundation of getting into a community, whether it's a what they call them, continuing care retirement community, CCRC, which is the one I'm at now, where they have all of the levels of services. Okay. They need to get somewhere, or just a regular nursing home, so that they can really, a lot of folks work their way up into those positions where they can actually try to gain as much experience as possible. Okay. If they're interested in school, it will be called public healthcare administration.
That's what I was just going to say, because you went through the program.
I went through the actual administrative and training program, but I didn't have a degree or background in public health, public healthcare administration. Okay. So I didn't have a background in that. Yeah, my background was human resources. So I would tell anyone to definitely, if they can go to school, please go to school, because if you don't, to get the license, it's a lot more harder and a longer process. Okay. So you don't have to major in healthcare administration, but you do have to have a degree to go on to get the license and to go through the training. Each state is different. Okay, because you're in Indiana, right? I was in Indiana. I got my license in Indiana. Now I'm in Illinois, the community I'm in now, so I'll have to take the test. Yes. Okay. So I will have to take my test for the license for Illinois. Some states don't require a license at all, but a majority of them, they do, each state. So it is very highly regulatory. It is a lot of politics. If you're not, don't like politics, I wouldn't get into it.
I feel like the higher you go up on a ladder in any area that we talked about this, it's politics. Like everything is politics. So
it is.
Yeah, you gotta be ready.
I feel like if you work at McDonald's. I mean,
every level has its way.
It really is. Trying to make sure that you have the right hours at work, and the right off days, and everything is all about talking to people, building relationships, and everything. So I think whatever level you're on, and I think a lot of times we don't realize that. No. And as Black women, I don't think that we realize that. A lot of times in the positions that we're in, we think that we're just, I just gotta go to work. I just
absolutely
no.
And don't realize the impact or the things you have to do, prepare to just go to work.
Because you're human. Like you're dealing with humans. And humans are so complex.
Yes, they are.
They're doing more than just the job. There's so many different levels of it happening. Because I always say, if I just had to do the job, that would be the easy part, right?
And I tell people all the time, it's not the job itself that's stressful. Because they talk about how stressful this position is. It is, don't get me wrong. But it's the people. It's not the job, it's the people. It's managing people that's hard. And that's why I said, for me, I feel like human resource, I had the advantage because with HR, you learn those things of how to manage people. You learn how to connect. You learn about training and development. They say you're like the counselor, you're this, you're that, and HR is true. So you learn to listen, you learn to let people vent, you learn, like I said, to meet them where they are. And then times where they just need to have that space to vent, let it out. And then you also need to know where it's more than that. There's something else. Having a pulse on your team. I have it time and time again where there's stuff going on at home and you're like, something's not right. You're not yourself, and come to find out, they're dealing with a lot. So, okay, how about you just need to go home and focus on that? Really? Yes. Because you're no good to me.
And you're going to mess up the rest of the energy here. You're messing. We can lose you for a little bit. Just go fix that and then come back.
Yes. And you'll be surprised when people see you really appreciate them and get to know them and who they are. They'll be willing to do whatever you ask them to do. Or if they see you, I'm not gonna, and I'm a firm believer of this, I'm not gonna ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. So they see me. They see me changing soil linens. They see me pushing a resident. They see me, sometimes they say I'm uncertified CNA. I've been almost had to do it illegally in these pandemic times, but I've done everything except for do that.
I'm happy you brought that up. So you're working in this space and doing one of the worst public health emergencies we ever seen today. What is life looking like that in that space?
Life is trying to get back. And everybody talk about that, just back to normalcy. But for us in this world, it's changed our whole perspective. And I think for us, I can appreciate it too. And I could tell you during that time, being brand new, barely just became an administrator, and then now I'm an administrator and interim executive director. I had a state surveyor where just trying to make sure we're doing everything correct. And I was just vented to her and I was like, oh my God, I just got my license. I'm a brand new administrator. And she was like, no, you know what? I've been in this 20 plus years, never seen anything like
this.
Never seen it. She said, but I'm going to tell you, it's good you going through this. She said, let me tell you why. Because you're fresh and you're new, and it's changing your whole thought process moving forward, opposed to us old that's been doing it for 20 years. We're trying to adjust to it. And I was like, wow, you know what? I'm glad she said that. So I moved forward with that perspective. Like, I'm learning and gaining so much that this is changing the whole thought process moving forward. That we always have to be ahead of the game. We always need to be 2-3 steps ahead, regardless. Be prepared for the next virus. Be prepared for the next pandemic. Because this is the world we're in. We're in healthcare. I've had to have calls with nurses where they were flat out refusing to come to work. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, you're a nurse. You're a nurse dealing with a communicable disease which you've been trained for, trying to pump them up and motivate them.
It's so funny you say that because The job I took, I worked in, and our whole thing was to prepare for a public health emergency. And we had drills. And the crazy thing is we had a drill the year before in June.
I remember you told me
and the whole drill was with every level of government all the way into the White House. And it was a virus from China came and it hit us on the 54th day. How are we going to respond? So when it happened, I remember the head of our department, he was like, we pay you guys good money to be here. Like, used to, because people were scared. They were clocking out like, oh my God, this has to happen. And it's like, no, you've trained for this. You have to step up and you have to do the job. And we worked over every day. I worked 7 days a week doing COVID.
I had to have those conversations.
Yeah, you did. He had to have it with us.
We had 20 people. 20 people in the healthcare can really affect you. 20 people terrified from all departments, scared to come. And I had to call those 20 people and try to motivate them to come in.
But see, that's one of the things, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to ask you about this once you said this, because you guys were at another level, because like what Julia's talking about is they were emergency preparedness and everything. But
we was responding.
You guys, but also in some ways your staff was serving on every different level for these elderly people, because they couldn't have visitors. So essentially they were the healthcare workers, they were the visitors, they were the family of the elderly.
It brought us up. We were stronger. One, because of it, and two, you know, it just made us really appreciate the things you took for granted. It really did, because we had families so upset. And then not only that, let's go back. We had the news media shed a horrible light on the nursing home industry.
In Chicago,
because they said we were dying, you know, they're dying, your loved ones. We were up here doing everything we could do. I mean, there was nights we spent the night there at the community. I had a suitcase in my trunk when it all started, because I was prepared. We knew what he was gonna do. Then we had the families upset with us. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? We had to explain to them that we're following the guidelines. This is what CDC, this is what CMS was.
And it changed a lot too.
Yes.
So sometimes those guidance would change so much. You literally would go to work and be like, oh, what's the guidance today? Because they were learning that.
It was changing by the minute. We would go out to the team, myself and the director of nursing would go out to the team and tell them one thing and have to go back and say, I'm so sorry, you all. And that's one thing too that I would advise anyone as a leader, just that transparency and willing to apologize and take ownership and accountability. And so we would go back and say, we're so sorry, guys. Not only would we go back, we were the ones, we didn't allow our team to go in the middle of the night when there was a resident popped up. Guess who was out? The team, the infection presenting nurse, myself, director of nursing. We didn't ask our staff to do nothing. We went out. We had bunny suits on. They called me the Ghostbusters.
What's the name of it?
And we knew they had a lot to deal with. We knew they were dealing with the families, they were dealing with taking care of the patients, so we took that burden off of them. And they were grateful for it. They was willing to step in and come in. Even times they were scared, breaking down in our offices. So we were able, and when that got done, I encouraged my company to invest in EAP. So I said, because I wanted, if we could make it mandatory for our staff to have counseling, because
we had
it was a lot
psychological first aid. We had a whole team at the city.
So it was a lot. Being, you know, the residents scared. I was tasked with calling families of any resident that was positive. And I'll tell you, to this day, it still affects me, because I could have been talking to a family the day before, telling them, oh, she's doing good, they look great, they're eating, and then the next day I'm telling them she's gone.
Oh my goodness.
So, and you know, hearing those families cry out, some of them not even able to go see the loved ones, it was something. It was something else. It was something that you never forget. It
You really don't. You really don't. I'm getting chills as you said it.
I'm proud of myself not breaking down crying. This is probably the first time in years that I can talk about it without breaking down, because, you know, it really, I mean, just seeing staff just lose it and just break down crying. But one thing I will say, they were grateful because other communities did not treat them. They had lack of PPE.
Yes.
They had lack of support. They had lack of money, like showing them, you know, we fed our staff every single day during that time. Outside catered. We fed them, I take that back, not every single day. We fed them through our dining services every day for free. But we catered outside weekly. For an entire year and a half. We paid them red zone pay. If they went into the red zone COVID unit, they got $12 extra, regardless of what their shift was. And then other folks just in regular positions got hero pay, additional $2. So we really showed.
That's amazing. Because that didn't happen.
And we didn't realize that until we had other staff reach out to us and say, I just wanted to call. I know you guys get a lot of complaints, but I wanted to show appreciation because I work at the hospital or I work here. And we bring our own PPE, and we barely get a thank you. So, you know, I thought this was just happening everywhere, and found out it wasn't.
It wasn't.
So they were very grateful and appreciative.
That's good.
Yeah. So we really did. That made it easy knowing, and we came together. We partied with the residents. We did parades with the family. We did so much, and we had tools that we implemented that help to this day, that they still utilize, that helps the family stay connected, help the staff stay connected. Just things, like I said, the pandemic brought down that was good. That we should have been doing anyway.
Before, right? It kind of wakes you up. It wake up a beast. Like,
absolutely.
This is reality. It can happen again, because I've been in meetings where they have stuff where I've heard that like 50, it can wipe out the population at 50%, like infectious diseases.
Absolutely, you gotta be prepared.
So you gotta be prepared. So now you have this new position and this really big facility. Like, what do you see you going with this?
You know, recently, and it's ironic you said that because I had to ask myself that question. And recently, someone spoke into my life, and I think I can see it as well, of myself having something similar of my own nursing home, of my own similar to, it don't have to be a nursing home, maybe a community where folks, young or old, can come to. You know, I even thought about years ago, one of the first properties, turning that into something like that. And so I think I might end up doing that. I have a social worker, one of the young ladies that followed me, she's a social worker. And then I have my other friend who's a nurse. And so we've been really talking about it. And I'm like, you know, I really feel like I am in these positions to clone me for something even bigger. And maybe my own. I didn't see it at first, but as I started talking, it keeps coming up. And so, you know, I love working for other folks, but at the same time, if I can work for myself, that's, you know, that's also,
you know, the power of that.
But yeah, if I can do that, I think that will be fulfillment.
When you do that.
Yes. And I usually always say that, so I am known.
You already see it. I can see you as you talk. I can see you already see
when I do it. So yes. And you know, I had mentioned to my husband, because he's from Africa, and I'm like, I know they do deal with their elderly different. A lot of cultures do. Which we were more like that. And they don't have those type of things, but times are changing. So I even told them, even if I pursue something in Africa.
I was going to say, I was telling my aunt, like, how you always talk about going to, is it Gambia?
Yes, Gambia.
And building
and being able to contribute there too. So if it's not that, something else, something different. So to be able to, you know, for him to leave a legacy over there as well. So who knows? I know, I have a feeling that it's leading me somewhere, and I'm the type, I go with the journey. I go with what God where He leads me. Sometimes,
and it's been working for you.
Yeah, it has. I used to be all about I set goals and I believe in goals, but at the end of the day, what if they're not his goals?
Yeah, or they don't look the same way.
They don't look the same way, and I'm okay. So I'm open to whatever path he takes me. It may not be what I thought, but I know he's going to lead me to where I need to be. So I may set some things out and put it out there, but at the end of the day, if it don't feel right, I don't go with it, because I know he's going to guide me towards that way. And at times he gives us snippets, and I don't think people, if they, hopefully they be in tune, they need to be really in tune. But sometimes he'll give us snippets and you don't realize it. Places I've been, I've drove past it and didn't even realize it, or I've had something within there. There was something that I didn't realize until I got there, and I was like, oh my goodness, he was all along, like where I'm at now. The issues I'm dealing with, I'm like, this was part of the plan all along, and I just didn't see it. So there's times where I delay. And people think like, well, you know, why should, no, I have to. I'll delay it because if it's not feeling right, or it's not like, I feel like he's not nudging me to go that way, it may not be the time.
That's a level of intuition too. And you said it like 3 or 4 times, feel. Like even when I'm teaching vision boards and people to write your goals, I always say, but be open to what God makes it look different.
Absolutely.
You have to go with what it feels like, right? Because you may say, well, it has to be this, and then you put resistance in it, and you're trying to control it, but like that feeling, like God gives that feeling, and that's when you know which way to go.
Yeah, I've been blessed. My grandfather has, which is Ricky's grandfather as well, he has discernment, the spirit of discernment, and that's a gift.
It is.
And I have been blessed. My father's been blessed with it too. I've been blessed with it.
What is this for?
So discernment just meaning, you know, like I was saying with the feeling of knowing and really being in tune to the Holy Spirit of knowing what he is, where he's trying to lead you.
Okay.
Or certain, you know, just having an intuition about certain things. It could be relationships. It could be, you know, your career goals and journeys. It could be anything. And a lot of times it has been very beneficial in business for me, because there's times where people will be pushing you to go in one direction and you're like, I can't. Or there's times, you know, you can read people very well. That's another spirit of discernment, where I'll give you an example. When I came to this community vacancy for 12 months, when I got there, it took me as the HR, my new HR director was like, oh my goodness, it took people like weeks or months to figure this out. I saw it in 3 days. 3 days, each person. Each person, where the issues were, who was part of the problem, where we need to be, where we need to go. So that's the spirit of discernment.
And it's like sight.
It's very sight.
You can't explain it. You can like literally see things, and it's like, nobody else see that? I've learned how to be okay with that. Back in the day, it's like, how can nobody see this, right?
Back in the day, I went to my dad. I never forget having a talk with him, and I thought it was something evil. Because I was like, you know, they used to say, my friends used to say growing up, like, don't let us say it. Because if I speak it,
it's gonna
that's
happen.
it. And they're like, oh my, it was scary. And so I talked to him, and he was like, oh no, baby. He said, that's a gift. He said, you got it from your grandfather, and I got it. He said, it's a gift. So there's things that you see that people, you hear things, you hear energies you feel that other people don't feel. And it has led me in a lot of things. And you get people say, how did you know that? Like, you like, was you there? It's almost like you were there. You know, I approach people on certain things, and they're looking at me like, did she talk to such and such? No, I can tell. I know what you did. I know what you just said. I know where you're leading. So yeah, it has really helped me in a lot of areas. So
and taking that spirituality and putting it in the workforce, because some people like to leave their spirituality at the door. No, I take mine everywhere.
I anoint. I'm a firm believer of anointing the space, and to the point, the team that have followed me, they know it. To the point we did it at my last community, and you'll be amazed of how things flow. And I was blessed to go from for-profit, not faith-based, to going to faith-based, not for profit. And I said I would not go back to for-profit not faith-based, because with the faith-based is aligned with my values. It's aligned with there's an alignment. And it's, and it comes with it. Like, this is still different where I'm at now. We have the foundation started with sisters. So the sisters, I'm learning. That's new for me too. But you can feel the presence of the prayers, of the energy. My office is even, the way it's aligned is around the corner from the chapel. It's right around the corner from the chapels. I'm like, Lord, this is beautiful. This is perfect. I'm getting all of the.
I just feel like if somebody's sitting here listening, like, no matter where you are in the struggle, like, God has something for you that aligns with your values, and that's just for you. Like, you don't have to be looking at like, oh, what God never forgives about you, and everything you do, if you just seek God, like, that alignment will happen.
He has it. That's why you should be able to celebrate other people.
Yeah.
What's for them is for them.
I always feel like
you gotta celebrate other people.
Because
jealousy is a disease.
And the things that I tell people too, I was just telling someone this the other day. If we would just celebrate other, and this is why I love this platform, because I'm like, we need it more. We don't do it enough. If we would just celebrate others, be a servants to others.
That part too.
You don't realize how much in forgiveness and having grace, like I was telling you, having grace for one another. You don't realize how God will really, really bless you.
Yeah.
And I tell people that's contribute to every blessing I have. And there's things when we do get to our final destination, I don't want to be, for me, I don't want to go there and God say, look at all of this you could have had. If you would have just listened to me. Look at all of this, because that's what's going to happen. He's going to show us all what we was supposed to have. Or either it might just be a little and you like, okay, oh, wow, okay, so I got heaven right here on earth because I listened to what God told me. I followed it. I instead of taking it on and being mad at this person and being mad, I took it to him, let him deal with it. Matter of fact, he can do worse than what I can do. So I think if people follow that, for me, for kids or anybody that's interested, or even an adult that's interested in this field, I tell them start with him.
Yes.
Let that be your foundation.
Because you got to make sure that's where you're supposed to be.
In line with him. And then he will guide you on where you need to be. And then all the other stuff. And just, I know Julia is a firm believer in reading. I read as well. Those are the things you don't have. Get it. Become the person you want to become.
You have to
read.
You have to expand.
The knowledge is there. That's the problem we lack for the lack of knowledge. That's why we are not where we need to be sometimes, because we just not. We don't want to put in the work for it.
The work.
And
the work is
faith all you want.
But faith without works is dead. Like, you got to do, and work comes more than physical.
Absolutely.
Like, sometimes if you're frustrated and you can't get something done, it's because you haven't did the internal work.
Absolutely.
To become that person, to be able to do what you need to do.
And they don't want to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to face yourself. You have to dig down to the root of what's going on.
And I have to bring it back to this, because I'm one of those people, my faith, so I love God, and my faith is not as strong as most people, right? So I'm more a whole lot of work. As I'm saying.
And that's okay, because I was the same way. I am not the person you see.
It takes a lot of work. Faith is a work like you're.
I tell you, for me, I had to operate in faith, and I never done it before. I tell you what really did it for me. The job, the mentor, the person that saw that in me to become a administrator, I had to walk away with no job. I had to walk away because of some things I discovered, and it didn't set right with me. And I had really poured into that community, and then when it got time for them to pour back into me, they didn't. So I knew my value and my worth. So I kept getting promised, when you get your license, we're going to take care of you. I got my license, it was the other way. So I said, okay, I can either be here, be miserable, be bitter, be upset, or I know my worth and I can decide to really, I'm a firm believer in faith. I can walk out on faith, and then guess what? When I did, a week later, the job I ended up at, that did the interim, was the administrator, first administrator job, they called me.
A week? You was only gone a week.
I put my 30 days in. I had just gave a notice for a week, and I got the call for an interview.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was just all.
But that's the work when we talk about. You can't just wake up with faith.
No.
Like when you pray for patience, like you don't wake up. You gotta test it. Right. So I think I hear my auntie always says that. She always say, I do the faith thing, but I think she don't give herself enough credit because she walked away from jobs too, right? She has this, but you also have courage in yourself and what you're able to do.
And so that's the thing about it for me. And I'm one of those people. I feel like if it has to be done, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna pull, I'm gonna crawl over, I'm gonna crawl under, wherever it has to go. We gonna make this happen.
And God would agree. If you start reflecting back, you probably
got way more faith than
you probably do. I wasn't giving myself enough credit, and I was just telling her before we started talking that we have to start giving ourselves grace, being more kind to ourselves. And I'm learning that I was not kind to myself at first. I was probably my biggest enemy, because I was really, I needed to walk the walk. It's good to talk it, I needed to walk it. And so I had opportunities where I had to, and then being intentional, that is key too. So I was like, I just have to keep speaking these things and keep, okay, I can respond this way, or let me try to respond in that way and see how it goes. And just responding in love, for me, that also helps a lot too. Doing everything in love. Everything in love.
Everything is wonderful. I feel like you have given us a lot of gems already, right? I mean, really, for our audience, for our listeners. And your life is kind of zig and zagged and, ultimately went to your desired path, right? So what would you say to our listeners? What tips would you give them on their journey?
Openness, I'll say. Flexibility and openness, because like you said, it did zigzag. My life didn't end the way I thought it would, not end, but did not, my journey was not part of what I thought it was going to end up. This was not my desire, but not knowing that was God's desire all along. So I think starting out being flexible, being open, being honest, meaning if you're lacking, what are you willing to do to make sure you get the tools you need? Being, having stewardship, utilizing the resources you have. There's a lot of times where we are very prideful and not asking for help. We're very prideful. Came up a few times, right? Because, we have people around us that can help us. And, you just don't want to be deemed like, I'm somebody that needs help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help.
Right.
But I think just really understanding where you want to be. If you start there, everything you do, doing the foundation of talking to God, having a relationship with God, even I'm not even saying when I talk about relationship with God and being spiritual, a lot of people think, that means going to church. You are the church. You are. You meaning, having your own devotions and being in tune and having that relationship with Him. And actually reading and, getting the knowledge you need. If you're not willing or able to go to school, okay, well, I know it takes this for me to understand, to be part, to be able to go after this position. Do the work to be able to do that. Don't look at somebody else and like, well, why did you don't know what their journey was. You don't know what work they did. Absolutely. Right. What's for you is for you. And when they understand that, you ain't got to worry about
nothing.
And, and be willing to serve. I think, like I said, for me, God was a servant. You love to serve. And
even in entrepreneurship, like working corporate too, it comes back to being a servant. Like you're showing up with your value to serve other people. That's it.
Absolutely.
It's not about you. It's not about your ego. How can I serve this community that God has given me? Right.
And I say humbleness because a lot of people didn't know I started my journey in Menards.
No, I didn't.
Had people literally make fun of me for being at Menards. Really? Just because they thought it was how you started school from college. From college, actually, they recruited me from college. And they just thought you know, you could be doing a lot better and doing a lot more. But not realizing I had gems within that. And I learned a lot in HR, probably more than any other organization. They were one of the only that I knew at the time was willing to allow someone straight from college with no experience to start.
And that's gold.
And that was unheard of. Everywhere I tried to apply, you had to have at least 2 years experience. Menards was willing to take a risk, and they were recruiting people from college. So I spent my time there. I earned my master's when I was with them. I did what I need to do. But it also taught me to be humble, because I had a humble leader at the time, and I saw how humble he was. But it really showed me, like I said, how humble you need to be.
And not to listen to everybody else, because you don't know what I'm getting from this right here. Like, I didn't ask you for a paycheck.
I didn't listen to them. And, you know, I wanted to start from the ground up. And for me, they were willing to give me a chance. And they taught me a lot. A lot of my experience and what I learned and was able to advance was because of things I learned from being there. And so my manager at the time, general manager at the time, treated me like I was his right-hand person. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot about profits, revenue. I learned a lot of things.
That sounds like an MBA in itself right there.
And it actually helped me with my MBA, because there was people that had never stepped foot and was in a career. And my professors was like, I'm just like blown away by you from all your knowledge. You're 20, you know, 1 year old.
That's what I said, because you made it so far in your career, you're still so young.
Yeah, I was 21 at the time. 21. And HR coordinator for Menards. And so while
she was getting that bag early while we were still
I was definitely starting out.
The main thing that I take from that, and maybe the listeners could take from that as well, is being willing to start your journey at where it starts, right? Exactly. Because you can learn from any place, right?
And that was so funny you said that, because I had someone ask me for advice, and they were taking a different path, and it wasn't where they thought. And I said, listen, you can make anything out of what you want it to be. Go in with a different perspective. Go in with, how can I serve? Because she was going from healthcare to going back to the railroad. And she's like, I come here dealing with seniors, being able to help them, and now I'm going to railroad. I said, but you can make a difference there too. When I was in manufacturing, I didn't realize I was making a difference, but I was. It was a large Hispanic population. And people were not, you know, it was mistreating them. And here I come, actually making them feel like they were a human being, taking the time. They had language barriers, taking the time to help them with things that people weren't able to help them with. So I was able to make a difference there, and didn't even realize I was until a lot of them came to me when they realized I was leaving. So you just, again, as Tiffany said, you've dropped so many gems in every segment, like just sitting there, like you went in and do what you're supposed to do, looking for a way to serve, and then the people are served. Absolutely.
Like, you're not thinking about yourself. Like, how can I go in here and make
remove yourself from it, because you know, if you're doing it for titles, if you're doing it for money, you're not going to be fulfilled.
You're not. Even if you make a whole lot of money.
Because there's so many people that make a lot of money and they're not happy at all.
They're not happy at all. I want my money to come with joy.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's what you start off. That's another thing for them to understand. If you start out doing what you love and what you're passionate about, the money will come. Because there's times that I've been very shocked by a lot of my salaries. And I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't even asking for that. But I'll take it.
Right.
Thank you. So, thank you. So yeah, you know, I'm like, I've even told them when I was interim, they were like, you know, we're going to give you a bonus. We're going to do this. Is that okay? And I was like, I'm okay. Because guess what? My husband and I, we went into our careers this is not the primary.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know if you wanted to go into.
Yeah, that's the difference. So you have to understand that when, you know, always having a backup, because that way these jobs. I mean,
what's your backup, Nikki? Go.
My backup is real estate.
Yeah, real estate. Yes, thank you.
To expand on real estate. So
that mentality too, like you just said, like I always look at my job our 9 to 5 as seed money.
It is seed money,
right? And the more seed money,
I'm so happy you say that, because that's what our job is.
Yep.
Our job is feeding our investment and the generational wealth we're trying to leave for our kids. That's not the primary.
Yep.
And when you have that type of mentality, you see how people treat you.
Yep.
The fact that I was able to give notice in my type of position and you don't have nothing, you should have seen how did you do that?
They did my husband like that for maternity leave. They're like, oh, you out 6 weeks? You don't, we're not paying you. You don't have to pay us. And then when he called and said we're gonna take 2 more weeks, they couldn't believe it. Like, he gonna be out 8 weeks with no pay? Yeah, he is.
And Tony, my husband, has helped me a lot with that, because I'm all about, I try not to come off. I've been this way since I was young, just humble and not being cocky, arrogant.
Sometimes you gotta let them know.
And he like, you go in there, you let them know. They're not used to that. They're not used to a black person coming in there having nothing. They're trying to figure it out. And
they are.
They're still trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out.
So I was like, you know what, you're right. We work. He's like, this is why we do what we do. This is why we invested in real estate, so that we have the opportunity. If they're not treating you right, or they're not knowing your worth, you say, okay, then deal with someone else. And so that has helped me. When you have that mindset of, okay, this is not my livelihood. This is, like you said, my seed money.
Now, I like my seed money. I'm not going to go in here and not do my job.
Right. I'm going to be respectful and professional, but at the same time, I'm not going to tolerate certain behaviors.
Right.
And being in my field, and there's not a lot of black, not a lot of African American women in these positions, you have to go in, and I have to be sort of that way. Even be a little different than what I am, because you have to request that respect. And it's not about earning it. You have to request it from them, because they just assume.
So I was wondering that too. Are there a lot of black faces in that space?
No. So a lot of my career, I ended up being most likely the first African American.
Oh, really?
Sometimes the only. So a lot of those places, I was able to bring that diversity to them. I was able to hire more minorities. So there's barriers and challenges that come with that too, that I have to deal with.
I feel like we could see her another hour.
That is another topic.
Because we didn't even get into that.
That's a struggle in itself, and you will be surprised in the things that you have to deal with when those territories they come with a lot of folks feeling like, why are you in this position? How did she get to this position?
And knowing you work 2 times
hard, 3 times, right?
Absolutely.
Sadly.
And then you have some where I've been in some communities where there were another race that wanted it and didn't get it, and here I come. So I had that happen twice. So,
and there's probably people there that wanted them to have it too.
Oh yeah.
And now you got to deal with that. That's a whole nother level of.
And I'm very upfront. Like my team don't have to figure out what I'm thinking. I'm gonna tell them. If they're having some behaviors, which is what I deal with a lot, and you'll be surprised at the professional level. Sometimes it ain't the line staff; it's the darn department head, directors that you have to deal with that throwing tantrums and acting just complete fool, unprofessional, and to have those type of conversations, And but I'm a firm believer in you're not gonna have to guess when it comes to me. You're gonna know.
You're gonna know. And sometimes they don't like that.
They
that upright.
They don't because they already want to put that stigma on you as the unfortunately angry
black woman.
But when I believe in what's called the professional cuss out. I named this years ago, and I've done quite well with it. I will give you a professional cuss out really quickly where you be like, what the heck happened?
Because mine's always
very no. I've mastered professional cuss outs. Okay. And so it's actually how I got the respect of my administrator that wanted me, because he came in very hard. He tried to treat me, I told you how in the beginning he was very rough around the edges. And he did that to me. And I gave him a nice little professional cuss out to the point he was like, you know what? I'm happy you're on my team, and my wife said I had that problem too. My wife, He was like, I I'm happy you did what you did. You don't play, do you? Huh? I'm like,
no,
you're not gonna come in here and disrespect me, or if we're gonna be part of the team, either you want me on your team, or I can decide this is not it, or you can decide it too. So, and they're not used to that. So it's a lot to get used to, because they've been used to the opposite. They've been used to someone conforming or don't speak up. Whereas like, I don't have anything to lose. I mean, I have that seed to lose, but there's another seed
gonna be coming
that, somebody.
Because you know your value too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't tolerate certain, disrespect or undermining. I got a lot of that sometimes.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that comes in different ways.
Yeah.
That underlining is,
Undermining,
That happened to me recently.
It happens a lot.
It does.
But I don't tolerate it. So.
Love it. Well, your career, your giving back, your charity, real estate, you truly are, Nicole Prom, a black boss lady.
And I'm sitting among 2 black bosses, so thank you.
And your legacy will live on the BBL platform.
Yes, thank you all for
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the BBL Platform Podcast, the place where legacies live. We hope you will join us on our next inspirational journey to success. Be sure to rate, like, and subscribe to our show. For more information, please visit our website at theBBLplatform.com.